Broadcasting from the Keep Moving Forward Creator Studios, it's time for the Athletes of the Titan Games podcast. This limited release show features the stories of the 2019 contestants of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's athletic competition, NBC's The Titan Games. Now here's your host, Katie Galley.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Athletes of the Titan Games podcast. I'm your host, Katie Galley. In the Keep Moving Forward Creator Studio with me today, I have Titan Games athlete and University of Washington medical student Quinn Rivera. How are you doing, Quinn?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you doing today, Kate?
I am doing great. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us and share your story.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I think it's pretty cool what you're doing and kind of giving everyone kind of more airtime to share their story and kind of talk more about why they do what they do and why they are who they are. So thanks for what you're doing too.
Wow, thank you so much. Of course. I mean, I love it. I love speaking with all of you guys, all the Titans this season. Everyone so far has had such incredible stories.
Yeah, there's definitely no shortage of cool stories. I definitely felt meeting everyone, I was like, man, why am I here? Like, some people's stories are so freaking awesome that I was like, man, you guys have been through it.
Yeah. But it's a testament to, the purpose of the Titan Games, really, showcasing that anyone can overcome insurmountable odds. Anyone can make it if you just decide to push yourself, decide that you're not going to stay where you are, decide to be better.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Well, Quinn, to get the ball rolling, kind of dive into your own journey. I wonder, where did you grow up, and how, if at all, was your childhood shaped by athletics?
So I grew up in small town Cody, Wyoming. It's about 9,000 to 10,000 people. I guess I don't know what the last census said. So grew up there, best place on earth. Super happy for where I grew up and some of the things I got to do. Athletics was a huge part of my life. We actually me and my brothers kind of get made fun of because we don't do as much outdoor stuff as we should, being from where we're from. So we don't do as much like hunting, fishing, and that kind of stuff as we should, but most of that is because we spent so much time doing athletics growing up. And so, I mean, I think a lot of who I am today and what I am today, the lessons that I've learned and the principles that I live my life by have been shaped by the athletic ventures that I've taken in my life. And so I think in a big way, athletics have helped teach me discipline, teach me what it means to work with people, what it means to also maybe in an individual sport, kind of have the weight on your shoulders to have to perform when you need to perform, and just different things like that I think athletics are great exposure to maybe everyday examples. It's almost like the testing facility for yourself of how you can develop discipline, how you can develop hard work, how you can develop belief in yourself and different entities and different facets of your life. And so, I don't know, I think athletics in a very big way has shaped me into who I am today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really is incredible what being an athlete, just being in organized athletics from a young age can do for you. Like you're saying, it teaches you so many life skills that don't just exist on the court, on the field, on the track. They actually so seamlessly transfer over into things that you will face in real life. Yep,
absolutely. And I think that my high school football coach is one of my mentors in my life, and he's one of the things he says is that he's not a football coach, he's a man maker, pretty much. And so, like, he's in the business of turning boys into men. He's not in the business of coaching football. And so I think that through that, he takes it very seriously of how can we instill principles, how can we instill discipline, how can we instill life values that will actually enable these boys to grow up and to become something that will be contributing members of society and really change the environment that they live in. So I think that mentality and approaching athletics with that is, I think that's a huge win.
Yeah, I completely agree. Making it so much bigger than the sport, knowing that your value isn't existent right then and there, and your ability to score a point or score a touchdown. It's in your ability to use those skills to transfer over. Like you're saying that your coach was actually a mentor of yours, and turning boys into men rather than just making them excellent football players.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So you played then high school up until or football up until high school. Was that kind of the sport that you focused in on, or did you play multiple sports really all throughout your childhood and into high school too?
I pretty much played anything I could. Being from a small town, like there really wasn't the whole specialization thing.
Yeah.
If you're athletic, you just played whatever you could in whatever season you wanted. And so, I mean, other than racket sports, I am atrocious at racket sports. And so people think I'm really athletic, so they put a tennis racket in my hand. And so I think that everything other than that, I pretty much played. So I played basketball my whole life. Most of my life, I guess. I played baseball for a huge chunk of my youth. Football, I always ran track, started pole vaulting when I was in 6th grade. Kind of a little bit of everything. And then once I got into high school, what basically happened was I played football all through high school. I played basketball for my freshman year, and then I ran outdoor track in the spring. But as a sophomore, I started getting a little more nationwide notoriety for pole vaulting. And so instead of playing basketball as my sophomore year, I decided to add an indoor track season and start focusing more on pole vaulting and doing more of that. And so that was the year that I ended up, I think I was number 1 in the nation for my age.
Wow.
In vaulting. And then so that was when I was like, okay, well, let's start to kind of invest in this a little bit more.
Wow. So when you realized you had that aptitude for pole vault, and you decided you wanted to, stop playing basketball, at least for the time being, and really dive into that sport, doing indoor and outdoor track, did you develop some aspirations to play at the next level, play at the collegiate level, or play pro and beyond? Or was it just you wanted to see where pole vault would take you just with regards to the sport of track?
Yeah, I mean, early on, I think it was more as a metric of this is how I'm going to get to school.
Mm-hmm.
To this, how I'm going to get my school paid for. So my dad always said the University of Wyoming is where I did my undergrad at, and he basically said you can go to any school you want as long as it's the same price as the University of Wyoming, which is basically like every junior college and the University of Wyoming. So because in-state tuition is in Wyoming, it's like next to nothing. And so I was like, well, if I want to go anywhere else, I got to do it through pole vaulting. And so that was kind of my mentality going into it. Obviously, I was a big, dumb high schooler and thought I knew everything and had my whole plan figured out, and then ended up actually having some knee injuries and some issues my junior year that kind of set me back. And so I ended up, the guy I was tied with for number 1 in the nation kept kind of going up and moving along. And so that was kind of frustrating to watch. But at the same time, it also my faith's a big part of my life. And so I'm a big proponent of things happen for a reason, that God moves and does things in ways that we don't quite understand all the time at the time that we're in it. And so I think for me, the knee was kind of a thing that put me in a situation that I never hit a mark that was so good that huge schools really recognized it. I hit a mark that was good enough to kind of go to the University of Wyoming and do some stuff with them. And, but out of that came so many cool relationships, so many cool friendships, more time with the girl who is now my wife. And so I think everything kind of happens for a reason. And so as frustrating as the time as it was that like this athletic event is going to get me to all the places I want to go, knowing that I had Olympic potential and the ability to maybe kind of push forward and do some of that stuff, it was frustrating, no doubt, that an injury was the thing that was going to hold me back from some of that stuff. But in the end, I mean, hindsight's 20/20, and I think I'm more pleased with where my life is now than I think I would have been as, say, an Olympic pole vaulter,
Yeah. And you're right, it is easy not easy, but reflecting back and you see where you are now and the growth that's happened, regardless of, that injury that happened or the bad thing that happened, but it set you on this new path. But at that time, I mean, when you're in it, you said you had your faith and realizing that everything happens for a reason, but having your, your organized athletic career kind of prematurely come to a close in the sense of, you were not able to go to that highest level that you had dreamed to go to. In the midst of that transition, how did you kind of pull yourself out of it? How did you continue to keep persevering? And how did you just kind of overcome that reality that your sport was kind of taken away from you? It wasn't something you necessarily chose to have come to an end.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say I handled it like super well, but I don't think that was actually the case. And so I think that, I was in high school, so it's like I would say I grew the most in my life so far throughout the span of my college years. So I would say I was still pretty young and immature. So I think that I think one of the things that did was it spurred my focus in the direction of things that really matter in life. And so it allowed me to, I mean, I was still focusing on athletics and stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was still playing football and still running what I could run in track, and doing things like that. But it also like helped me kind of hyper focus in on things like my faith, on things like family, on things like relationship. And so it allowed me to dive into more things like that. But as far as the injury side of things goes, the way that I kind of pushed through was, finding things I could do, right? So like don't just sit on your butt and be a bum. Like figure out something you can do.
Yeah.
So whether that looked like, I did a ton of Airdyne workouts, like assault bike workouts that were just all arms, because it was something that I could do that was still cardio that didn't strain my knee. Stuff like that. So like dry heaving and throwing up on the side of an Airdyne, and finding ways to kind of stay in shape and do those things that still allowed me to feel like I was competing, I guess.
Yeah.
And so my knee, like the stuff that I had with my knee wasn't so bad that like I couldn't do anything. And so that was a huge blessing. I didn't like completely blow out my ACL or anything. And so really what a lot of it is, I had partially torn my patellar tendon. And so it was enough that I couldn't do much without repercussion or sequelae, I guess, happening. And so basically what happened was I had to monitor how much I was constantly doing, because the injury kind of happened. I really kind of exacerbated it in football, but the injury kind of happened mainly because I never stopped. And so I was playing football all fall, and then running indoor track and pole vaulting, running outdoor track and pole vaulting, and then I would do summer meets and summer training for pole vault, and then also do football camps, and also be up working out every morning around like 6 in the summers. And so it kind of came from like in this growth phase of life when you're in high school and your body's still trying to figure it out. It was almost like my body saying like, whoa, dude, slow down. And so I think one of the things I actually learned from that, and this is kind of, I'm sorry, but probably kind of like countercultural to like what the podcast is like slow down every once in a while, you know? And so I think I'm a big, like, I think much of the world is big on busyness, and I'm big on productiveness, if that's a word.
Yeah.
And so, and so I think that for me, it's like, if I can shift my mindset to being productive instead of being busy. People who are focused on busyness always have to be going, always have to be moving. If they're not accomplishing, they're frustrated. If they're not doing something that they feel or they desire or deem as important, then it frustrates them and it impacts who they are and the way they act in the world. For me, I want to be productive, because rest can be productive, because relationship can be productive, because the gym is very productive, because work can be productive. So it allows me to shift my mindset in a way that it's not self-defeating and self-demeaning. And that was kind of the beginning of that mindset shift, I think, because I got to start saying like, well, sometimes rest is productive. Sometimes me taking time off is the setback that allows me to then push forward and then move on better than I was. And so I think that was the beginning of that mindset, and learning that, hey, like, it's okay to chill a little bit, you know, like it's okay to relax, to rest up, to let your body heal. Recovery is as much a portion of strength as actually lifting the weights.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a huge component of my life that I still carry with me. That's been huge in my kind of medical schooling and different things like that too. So.
Yeah. And it's, drawing, like you're saying, drawing on that discipline that you learned as an athlete, but understanding too that resting your body, it really is equally as important as training it and going hard. And I love too, what you said about that productiveness. It's not confusing the simple thing of activity with actually being productive, actual productivity. So it's not just doing things to do them, but what are you actually accomplishing in that time that you've just dedicated that activity to?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, from there with, you had this injury, but then you still went on, fitness was still a big part of your life. And then ended up going to University of Wyoming. So from there, did you actually then still compete in any sport or any event in track when you went to Wyoming?
Yeah. So I ended up going to Wyoming. So my senior year of high school, that's kind of when you're like getting all your offers to go on.
Yeah.
Since I got hurt, like in my junior year was pretty much just fluff. And so I didn't start, you kind of turn heads your junior year and then you start to get offers your senior year. And so I kind of just got fluff my junior year, so I didn't turn that many heads. So I needed to have some big marks early on in meets if I wanted people to look at me. And that didn't happen either because my knees were still bothering me. And so basically what happened my senior year of high school was I had pretty average for me performances. I was still winning every meet I went to because I was pole vaulting in Wyoming. And it's not really like a super high-end sport in Wyoming. And so I was still, quote unquote, like dominating the events I went to. But for me, it wasn't marks that I was hoping that I was going to hit. And so what happened my senior year basically was at state track. I went in and finally hit a mark that I was proud of, ended up breaking the Wyoming state record. And then out of that, a few coaches saw and basically were like, hey, like, we don't have much right now. We're kind of trying to figure out how we can get you on the team, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I was already planning on going to Wyoming, and then the Wyoming coaches had reached out and chatted with me about it. So I was like, yeah, man, I'll give you guys at least a year and kind of seeing how this is, but I'm not going to run my body into the ground. Like, I have a lot of life ahead of me, and fitness is a big part of my life, and I don't want to alienate myself from being able to do all those things that I love the rest of my life because I was trying to live out this pseudo dream, you know?
Yeah.
And so kind of moved on to college, pole vaulted for the University of Wyoming for 2 years. And then basically was at a point where my shoulders were really starting to bother me. Pole vault is a very high impact sport. It's hard to explain like pole vault to people that have never done it. To me, it's the most technical sport in the world. Like, you do one thing wrong, you're missing the mat.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to explain that to people who don't understand what it's like and how technical it actually is. And so it's very demanding on like your shoulders, your hips, your back. A lot of people that pole vault for a long time have back issues and different things like that. So I was blessed that I didn't have that, but I could feel my shoulders were starting to get kind of messed up. And so I kind of had the hindsight of like, man, like, this isn't as important to me anymore. I still want to be able to compete and do things and move in my youth and do all that stuff. So I kind of went and had a real candid conversation with my track coach in college after my second year. I was like, hey man, like, I'm so appreciative of what you guys have done for me. Very thankful for the opportunities that you've given me, but I'm going to have to step back at this time, and hope there's no hard feelings or anything. And they were super gracious about it and super, super understanding of the fact that kind of a young kid that didn't want to put his body through something. And so out of that was birthed, there was a whole of like, man, well, I still want to compete in something. Like, I still enjoy competition. I still want to be getting better every single day. I still want to have that discipline in my life. And so that was when I really kind of got serious about starting to do CrossFit. And so that was when I got more into going to a local CrossFit gym and kind of competing in the classes with different guys and getting more college friends and different people involved. And so that was kind of, I would say that was where like fitness was always a big portion of my life, but that was where it became like, no, this is going to be in my life the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah. So when you discovered CrossFit, then it was, you know, you had this outlet, this competitive outlet just in that class setting. You could compete against yourself, compete against the other people, you know, building this great community and friendships. So with CrossFit, did you decide that you just wanted to take those classes and stay physically fit, or did you see yourself competing in, you know, local competitions or trying to compete in any other competitions?
So we basically like, a buddy and I kind of started going at the same time. And so we were competing kind of with each other because we were similar kind of athletic prowess and ability. And so at first it just was kind of just like, let's just go have fun. This is fun. Let's see this. And then as we kind of get into it, of course, like everyone who starts CrossFit's like, I'm going to make it to the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
You know, like you have an athletic background. You're like, I can do that. Like, who's Rich Froning, you know? And then as you get into it, you realize like, holy smokes, I don't think I have the capacity to make it to the CrossFit Games. Like if I put in the time, I could like maybe do decent at regionals, but I'm just not like, to me, I can't justify the time that it takes to do that with the other areas in life that I feel like I'm gifted and I need to be investing in. And so at first, yeah, it was like, yeah, I want to compete. I want to do this. Like, I'm going to make this my life and I'm going to do all this stuff and be really good at it. But my action didn't necessarily match up with that vision of like, well, I still had to go get my pre-med, finish my pre-med and get my physiology degree. So I had to do all these other things. I didn't have time just to work out 8 hours a day, you know?
Yeah.
And that might be an excuse because there's the Julie Fouchers of the world that did it in med school, you know? And so I think it really wasn't a huge priority of mine to like man, I got to go out and make the CrossFit Games. But within like local competition, I loved doing stuff like that. And so that was super fun for me. The gym actually kind of took it, me and my buddy, because we were some of the first kind of college students that really kind of dove into the gym with the ability that we had. And so the gym they sponsored us and let us start coming for free. And we just, out of that, basically asked us, like, will you do competitions for us? And will you kind of talk about us among the campus and try to start getting more college students to come? And so we started doing that, and that started to be kind of really fun. And so trying to recruit and get people into this and believe in what it is. And kind of what I tell people about CrossFit is like, there's a negative connotation with it. I think it's like a buzzword, right? People get all triggered by it.
Yeah.
Because of whatever it is and whatever it isn't. I mean, if you go into any gym in the world, you're going to see some idiot doing something wrong. You know,
right.
There's no way around that. And so, and I went plenty of times into the college gym at my gym, and I saw more idiots doing more things wrong than I've ever seen in my life, as opposed to at a CrossFit gym where people say like form is the absolute most atrocious, which just isn't true. And so I think people take like little snippets and they run with them, especially with CrossFit. And so one of my things that I tell people is like, look, like for the money you pay, I understand it's kind of expensive up front, but like what you're paying for is you're paying for community. You're paying for like no need to really have accountability because you're paying for accountability. You're paying for a place that you can work out with a trainer.
Yeah.
So not only that, like I think, and not only that, like you can have zero programming knowledge and get in some of the best shape of your life. Mm-hmm. And so if you go pay $20 to $30 a month and go to a Globo gym, like that's great. I have nothing wrong with that, but you also might have to understand programming. You might have to understand periodization. You might have to understand how to actually build out a program, or you can go print one off online, which you don't really know what you're getting with most of those. And anyone nowadays, any like college boy that's done a bicep curl thinks he's a personal trainer. And so I think that for me, what I see across is like you can know nothing about fitness. So if you're a 45-year-old mom who's not in the best shape of your life, like you can go in, you have a trainer who will help you scale, who will help you figure it all out. You have a community, so you're not doing it alone. You have accountability because there's people there, and this is mostly the same people that go to all these different classes. You can literally walk in, read the whiteboard, do what the whiteboard says, leave, and if you do that 4 to 5 days a week, you'll probably get in the best shape of your life. And so I think, to me, that's why I'm a huge proponent of it, because it's like, man, like, I'm not a huge proponent of you going as fast as you can, balls to the wall, if your form and function are not able yet. But at the same time, like, you need to understand and you need to learn the fact that, like, we've gotten to this spot where walking is exercise, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, if your heart doesn't know you're exercising, like if your heart isn't beating in your body, can't physiologically tell that you're exercising, you're not exercising, you know? Like, and I'm sorry, like I'm very not politically correct as a person, if you couldn't already tell. And so this metric of like, it's okay, just do something is like, I think killing us, because it's like, no, because something isn't working. There's obviously like, we're pushing the 50% mark now for people who are overweight in America. And to me, it's like, man, like I don't so much have a passion for elite fitness as much as I have a passion for like, then I just want to see people get fit, be the best version of themselves. And not only that, but like see how fitness can permeate into so many different areas of your life. Because once you start investing in one area of your life, you're going to start investing in others. If you invest in your fitness, you're probably going to be like, man, well, if I'm already putting this time and energy into this, I should probably eat a little better too. And if I'm already putting this much time and energy into this, with the extra energy I have from it, I can probably invest in my kids, and I can probably invest in these relationships. And so I don't so much see fitness as a metric to have a six-pack and look really good on your Instagram page. Like I see fitness as a way that it's a lab, really. Like I had an Instagram post a few like months back, maybe. I was just talking about like the importance of fitness is that it's a micro exposure to things like discipline, to things like self-control, to things like hard work that create macro change in mindset, that can create macro change in your discipline. And so if you can understand that, like, it's just a habit, right? If I do this every single day, it will reap X benefits. And so that's what I hope people will understand with any realm of fitness. And that's why I'm going to the CrossFit. You take the thinking out of it, and you take the having to do it alone out of it, and the time out of it. Because really it's like you're there for an hour. That's a warm up, exercise, and cool down. Mm-hmm. And so those are like your three big excuses why you're not working out. And so you take all those out of it and now say like, show up, do what the whiteboard says, and you can leave. And at the same time, you'll probably make some of the best friends in your life. So that was a huge tangent to whatever you asked me. But
yeah, that was good
sorry.
though. No, that wasn't a tangent. It was good.
About things, and I just started talking.
Yeah, but it was good. I love it because it's clear your passion for fitness and wanting people to be better and help them to get better, and that it's manifested in this sport that you get to take part in, CrossFit, and you love it so much. So then this love and passion for fitness, was it a driver in you wanting to go back and and become a medical student? I mean, where did you see? So how do you marry those two? So you're on this path now as a student. Is it because of this, your eyes opening to this fitness world and how you want to change it?
Mm-hmm. So I think this is a great topic and also kind of a frustrating topic.
Okay.
So yes is the short answer. I'll just get that out there because you're going to have a long answer coming. So yes, but at the same time, so I kind of always want to be a doctor. I have quite a bit of family that's kind of in the medical field. My dad is crazy intelligent and basically is frustrated that he didn't go do something like that where he has a very tangible way to help people. And so he kind of early on was like, man, if this is what you want to do, like this is something you should look at. And so early on, it's kind of like, man, when you're young, you're like, I want to do whatever dad wants me to do. And then it kind of grows into your own a little bit. And so that's kind of what it's become. Obviously seeing things like fitness and preventative health and how that's kind of growing in notoriety and understanding around the world of like, hey, like you don't have to have diabetes, like it's not like a quality of life, like you grow up, you get fat, you get diabetes and you die, like that's not how it has that your story doesn't have to be that. And so I think, yes, there is like a huge part of me that's like, man, I want to marry the fitness aspect with the medicine aspect, and I also want to do that. But it's also, medicine is the hardest culture in terms of, I was just having a conversation with my wife about this. Like she's finishing up an internship in dietetics and nutrition. And so it's the hospital is the hardest culture because everything has to be backed by double-blind placebo studies, right? So it's like, if it's not backed by a study, they're not giving any weight to it. But the problem with that is like, no vegetable farmer is paying for studies on vegetables, right? Like no one, let's say for instance, like juicing. Okay, we'll take something that's super like a trigger and a fad right now. Juicing, no like juicing company is paying for double-blind placebo studies on whether or not juicing can cure cancer or not, right? There's people out there that say like, I had stage 4 cancer, I juiced, and now I don't have cancer. So there's hard evidence. People are like, that's basically all I did. And then there's also hard evidence of like, and I'm not one of those people that's like, you should never take a medication, but I'm also like, man, there are healthy ways that we can live our lives and that we can heal ourselves and we can do certain things and decisions that we can make that will be conducive to kind of where we're going to go. And so I get frustrated, I guess, because let me be real candid. We took our 2 hours of nutrition in medical school. I took that last year. So there's 2 hours of nutrition in my medical school.
Wow.
So if a doctor's giving you nutrition advice, don't listen to them, basically is what I'm saying. And so unless they've trained themselves outside of that and they can show you that they have, all they're doing is leaning into what the Department of Agriculture is saying is what nutrition advice is. And so what's hard for me is like, we have this group of people that is claiming to be experts in health, but really we're experts. What we are is we're experts in once you're sick, we'll fix you. We're not really experts in wellness and health. And so how do we marry this idea that like, if we just help people be healthy, obviously like the job of the doctor should be to put themselves out of business, right? Like the actual job of the doctor should be, if I get everyone healthy, I won't have a job. But that's not kind of how it's working right now. And so it frustrates me that that's kind of not the way that we're going, that you doctors aren't writing a script for exercise, right? Like you have a BMI of almost 50 and you can't move, and we're giving you a weight loss pill and we're not actually prescribing to you like, hey, you have to move. Like I have a personal trainer that I'm contracted out with, and I can write you a prescription that says, hey, like I trust this guy, he knows what he's doing, and he can help you move and get back on your feet and doing some things and get your quality of life back. And I think quality of life is the name of the game, and that's why so much of this is starting to kind of come up, right? Because it's like there's a difference between the 70-year-old that can play with his grandkids and the 80-year-old that's sitting in this chair for the last 20 years. And like one's super powerful and one's super healthy, but also like the other guy, like, yeah, he lived 10 years longer, but did he really live 10 years longer? You know? And so my kind of passion and my heart behind medicine and fitness is like, well, how can we make these worlds actually collide? And there's people that are already doing it, and there's people that are doing a really good job at it, but a lot of them get blackballed by the medical community because they're not going straight to a script and they're not going straight to a drug. And drugs have their place, and drugs are crazy powerful, and it's insane the amount of research that goes into some of this stuff. So I'm not even going to begin to act like I'm smarter than some of these guys that are doing this stuff. But at the same time, like, it's just common sense that, like, hey man, if you move 5 days a week and you eat decent, like if you quit going to the gas station every morning and getting a pack of bonbons and a 64-ounce soda, like if you quit starting your day with 200 grams of sugar, I bet you'll feel better. I bet your health markers will look better, you know? And so it's like, how do we get people to start to step back? It's all a symptom of our like instant gratification world. It's a step back from like, I just want the pill that's going to make it better tomorrow, because that's what antibiotics have done, because they're crazy powerful and they're crazy good at what they're supposed to do. Like, I can take a pill and I'll feel better tomorrow. But it's like with so much of chronic illness, it's like that's not the case. And chronic illness is what's plaguing us with diabetes and hypertension and hypercholesterolemia and heart attacks and cardiovascular disease. And it's like, well, why don't let's take a step back. Let's invest back in delayed gratification of like, okay, if you invest now in your life and in your health the next 10 years, like think about where you'll be. And so that's kind of where my passion lies in marrying the two. And I think that 10 years ago, if you asked me that, I probably would have been like, no, I just want to make a lot of money, you know?
Yeah.
And so now I think it's not that. It's more about like, man, like, how can we figure out how to really actually bring about quality of life in people's lives? And I've kind of seen that happen with some people that I've gotten to be with and that I've gotten to be close with, and gotten to speak in some of their lives about some different things. I mean, just like small things you can change and how you can do some different stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah. And it really is incredible, because the passion does obviously come out in the way you speak about it, and just your own experiences. It's something that you want to see shifted, and you're taking those action steps to do that. So you see it in the world, and that is something you're going to school for, something that you see, putting yourself right in the middle of it, so you can try and, I don't know, just make it that much better.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and I think, and that's such a key takeaway, because that's what it takes. You can see things that maybe you don't necessarily like, but what are you going to do about it? You can try and take steps to remedy it, or just to better it in some fashion. And so that's, clearly that path that you're taking. And so with all of this, all of these passions that you have on your heart with fitness and helping people just be better selves, so they can have a better quality of life. How did this opportunity to compete on the Titan Games come up, and how did that align with all of this mission that you're on?
Yeah, so I basically saw like one of the initial ads for the Titan Games was like, man, I'll apply. So I was in my first year of med school at the time. It was like, I don't have a lot of time, but in whatever kind of excess time I have, if I'm just watching something or on YouTube or something, like, I'll just fill out this application as I do it. And so kind of decided I would try to do that. I was like, man, I kind of have uniqueness to me, I guess, in the aspect that, like, I'm still in really good shape while I'm in medical school. I own a business on the side with my brothers, and then also, like, am like kind of a homegrown small town kid, and it seems like Hollywood likes that for some reason. And so I think that, like, out of that, it was like, okay, I'll apply and I'll just see what happens. And then it was more of like, if I get it done, I get it done kind of thing. And then it turned out like I got it done. And so I was like, well, let's just submit it. I've done video stuff before. I think we had to make like a little 3-minute video or something to submit. And so I was like, the video part will be super easy. I'll knock that out in like an hour. But the application has to take some time. And so I actually like put some time and effort into that. It actually was not that bad, because it was like really similar to kind of like scenario type questions you get asked for medical school. So I'd already answered a lot of questions similar to it, just about yourself and like who you really are, your core and your character and your integrity and stuff. And so I think, so yeah, so I like filled that out, sent them the submission video. I literally forgot about it. Like, had forgotten that I submitted it. And then got a call from them that basically said, hey, like, we want to fly you out to the combine out in LA because we want to see you compete and see if you can do what you say you can do. If so, there's a good chance you're going to be on the show. So I'm like, okay, cool. So it felt like the 1 week it could fall in the summer, which was I just finished a medical rotation. I drove home that night, flew out to LA, and then flew back, and I got married again in the next like 3 days or something. And so flew out, did that thing, did the combine, which was a blast, and you got to meet a bunch of people and kind of meet a lot of the producers for the first time and stuff. And then came back, got married while we're on our honeymoon, got an email basically saying like, hey Quinn, like, how can we contact you? We haven't been able to kind of reach you because our phones we were in Mexico, so we weren't using our phones or anything. And then once I got back stateside, they kind of called me and they were like, yeah, you made it. I was like, sweet, you know? And so I think at first people were like share their elation stories. I was like quite the opposite. I was very actually like stressed because I was like, hey, now I got to figure out like, how do I balance med school with my marriage with this new thing of like, I got to go out to LA and film at some point in September. Like, how do I balance all that? So my initial reaction was like, crap, I got to figure this out. Obviously I was excited that I had gotten chosen, but I was like, crap, like this got real. And so, started kind of navigating like what that might look like and weighing pros and cons. So basically I had 3 options, right? Like I could try to balance it all. I could go to med school. The NBC was willing to fly me back and forth while we were filming. So there was a few tests during that period of time. So they were willing to fly me back to Seattle so that I could take some tests and then fly me back again to film, which just sounded like a nightmare. Or just like an accident waiting to happen. And then I could basically say no, right? I could say no to an opportunity that I felt like was an awesome opportunity, kind of once in a lifetime. Or I could basically take a year off of medical school, which also would allow me to invest in my first year of marriage, which would allow me to be in Dallas with my wife while she's finishing up this internship, so that we're not 2,000 miles away. And then also compete on this TV show that could increase your platform to speak from, so that later in life, like you can speak about the things that you're truly passionate about. And so once I kind of laid it out like that, only one of them really made sense.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, we'll just take a leave of absence from medical school. I think it makes way more sense. I had already been leaning that direction because I really didn't want to be 2,000 miles away from Allie for our first year of marriage. And I was like, man, that'd just stink for me to be in Seattle and her to be in Dallas, and we're having like a text relationship, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and we dated 7 years. And so it's like, we'd done 3 years of distance and we were over it. And so we're like, let's just not do that anymore. And so it made a lot of sense. And then the Titan Games ended up really kind of being a big enough catalyst for me to just be like, you know what, let's just do it. Let's just see kind of, for me, it's like, let's see what God's got for me this year and let's see what happens. And so, yeah, kind of got to lean into that. And once I made that decision, I was really excited about it. And so that was when I was like, okay, let's start training for it. Let's start doing everything. A lot of people say like they completely changed the way they're training and stuff. I didn't really change anything. And so I think that I started doing a little more weird things, like more odd object carries and more yokes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I went up to Spokane. Cole Sager is a close friend of mine, and so I went up and worked out with Cole Sager, who's a well-known CrossFit athlete, for those who don't know who Cole is. But went up and trained with him and did some stuff there. And so kind of changed that aspect of it a little bit. But really kind of the whole premise of like what I saw with it was like it's what Rock kind of talks about and what he wants the show to be is, in his words, like he wants to give everyday people a platform to speak from. And so for me, like that's what it was all about, and it really resonated with me. And I think that's one of the reasons I got chosen was because like that was all my application tape was about before I ever heard Rock say that. And, you know, it was like literally all this means to me is like I get to use a gift that I have for a specific purpose, and out of that specific purpose, hopefully build a platform, and off that platform speak about what I'm really passionate about, you know, like, and some of that is health and some of that is fitness. And a lot of that is faith. A lot of that is vulnerability of like, I'm very anti like our Instagram culture. And I was just talking to Cole last night about this of like, we live in such a culture that's like, you almost have to have Instagram to have a platform. But I actually am like, man, I don't like Instagram. I don't like the time that it takes up of my day, and I don't like that. Like it's literally like it's easy to get addicted to, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm the guy that like I don't like drinking coffee just because I don't like being someone that has to have something in the morning to start the day. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I don't want any hold in my life where like I have to have something or else I can't function. And so this Instagram thing, like something that I want to stand on from the platform that, the small platform that I gained from this, and then hopefully it'll grow from there. And it's really just this idea that like, it's okay. Like there's this pressure of pleasure in our life right now that like you have to be happy or else you're nothing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you get on Instagram and you see everyone so happy, and you get in your life and you get to see like, oh, well, they're happy and they're great and they have this and I don't have this. And so like the quote is a pretty famous quote, I think, of like, we're comparing our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. And it's just, it's frustrating to me that like, that's the case. And so that's something I want to stand on with my platform of like, oh, man, like this isn't always pretty, and like this isn't always fun, and I don't always want to do this. And like sometimes fitness sucks, you know, and sometimes I don't like it, and sometimes I don't want to do it. Sometimes a lot of times med school sucks, you know, like,
yeah.
And so I never want to hyper romanticize like the life that I live and the things that I do. Like I want to be joyful about what is definitely joyful, and I want to be happy about what is happy. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but at the same time, like, also want to be real. And I think people are craving kind of realness more and more. Like there's this pseudo confidence and this pride that's kind of crept into our world, where people think like to be successful you have to be prideful, and that's just bullcrap. Like couldn't be further from the truth. Like people love humility and people are attracted to humility, and humility is one of those things you can't put your finger on what it is in a person, but you just like them, you know. And you're like, have you ever had that moment where you're like, man, I just like you. I don't know why I like you, but I like you. And most of the time, like that's humility. And most of the time when you like someone, it's because they let you talk about yourself. And so I think that for me, it's like a platform to me is so much bigger than like health and fitness. A platform to me is like, and I want to speak about what needs to be talked about, because I'm frustrated with the fact there's people out there with millions of followers that are literally just posting about their new Lambo that they just added to their garage of 30 other cars. You know, it's like, talk about something that matters, man. Like, cool, you have materialistic things. No one gives a crap at the end of the day, you know? And so, like people are hurting and people are needing, and there's messages that need to be heard, and people have those messages and they're not sharing them. And so that's something that is a real burden on my heart. So like, hey, this is what I believe and this is what I feel. I mean, if you disagree with me, great. Let's have a civil conversation about it. Like, don't be a tool shed about it. But like, I'm more than willing to talk about all these different things. And I don't know, like, it frustrates me, if you can't tell.
Yeah.
that like that is happening, and that belief of like, be more arrogant, hide who you are, all these different things. You have to be this. Frustrates me that that's being perpetuated in our society, because it's not true, and it's not a road to freedom. It's not a road to happiness. I think people are spending a ridiculous amount of energy hiding what's actually inside of them. It's like, man, like, just be who you need to be, and like, be who you're called to be. Hold yourself to a standard. Like, that needs to be added to that list of things. Like, yeah, be who you need to be and be who you're called to be, but also hold yourself to a standard of discipline and integrity and character. So that you do grow. Like, growth is definitely important too. But at the same time, I don't know. I think for me, the Titan Games was a metric of like, it's an awesome opportunity. Obviously, like the obvious things, like I was stoked to meet The Rock, and I was stoked to get to meet a bunch of super athletic and cool people. And I met some amazing people who have amazing stories. But really my story is like, I'm a small town kid that genuinely thinks he can change the world if he invests in the person next to him, because exponential growth happens if I can invest in someone and then they go invest in 2 people. And so if I invest in 20 and all 20 of those people invest in 20 people, 20 more people, and then the people they invested in keep investing, that's where the world can change. And I think we're constantly looking for, again, instant gratification of the pill of how do we fix our society. Like, the pill of how we fix our society and the pill of how we really move forward and do what we're called to do and how we're supposed to do it is by investing in the people that are around us and next to us. And I think the people around us are not by accident, and you should be influencing them in some way. So everyone has influence, whether you have 1 follower on Instagram or 50,000, right? Like, you have influence. use it. Like, quit using it for bullcrap. Quit using it for the tutorials that you're putting up there that are really like materialism. You know, like, talk about what needs to be talked about. Talk about what's on your heart. Talk about what needs to be said. You know.
Yeah.
So that was the point of the Titan Games for me. It was like, I want to build a platform so that I can talk about some of the stuff that like really needs to be talked about.
Yeah. And it's like you're saying, I mean, it's putting your authentic self out there. So it's using the platform you've now been given in order to do that. So not putting out a facade, making people, and again, the point of it is everyday people. It is those regular people who just make a priority out of fitness. They make a priority out of being better, trying to better themselves every single day. And so putting that out there, it makes you see, wow, okay, it's not, even though this person is on television, it's not this celebrity. It really is a person who, hey, he's a medical student. Hey, she's a dental hygienist, whatever it is. It's that, everyday job, that everyday person who goes above and beyond because they want to excel. They want to change the life of that person next to them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think the health community is really bad about perpetuating that belief that, like, people are always posting about, like, I don't know, like, how hard their workouts were or whatever, like, how on they always are. It's like they're posting their PRs, not necessarily their failures. And so I think that it's like, I'm not saying create an Instagram account where all you post is your failures, but what I am saying is, like, just be real with people and help them understand, like, you slept in a little bit today,
Yeah.
And that's okay because everyone freaking does it. And so, like, let's remove this tension of having to hide who we really are and what we're actually doing. And, like, yeah, we're going to aim for the standard. And most times we're going to hit the standard. But at the same time, like, you're going to fall short and you're going to miss. And you don't need to beat yourself up about that. Like, get back on the freaking horse and move. And so for me, like, that's the frustration that, like, I see is, oh, we're always in the gym. We're always doing these things. And it's like, and I am the majority of my time, like, I'm hitting the marks I want to hit. But at the same time, like, some days I don't feel like it. Some days I don't hit the mark. A lot of days I fail. Most days, like, some days I sleep later than I wish I would have, and opening up to let's just sprinkle a little more real into society,
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And again, it starts with someone deciding to make that decision to put their authentic self out there and just be real. And I mean this, like, to your point, it's a new platform in the Titan Games. It gives that chance to 64 individuals this year, just allowing them to be those authentic selves and helping those people who are watching the show or watching, following you guys now on Instagram to realize that, they can be that too. They can just be better every day in exactly the life that they're living. They can just make those decisions, and it's not seeing only the successes that you guys have had, but those failures, those obstacles that you've overcome, and those struggles that you face every single day that truly everybody faces too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So with this experience now, from specifically the Titan Games, I wonder, Quinn, what would you say is your definition of a Titan, and how do you believe that this experience that you've had on this season of the Games will now carry over into the rest of your life?
That's a good question. What is a Titan to me? I think it aligns with a lot of what I've said. I think a lot of what a Titan is to me is probably different than what a lot of people will say. Like, to me, you're a Titan if you're true to your words, if you have integrity, if you uphold character, and if you do those things, if you hold yourself to a standard of doing those things well.
Yeah.
And so I think, to me, more of a Titan is how you choose to live and less about, like, your bench press,
Yeah.
And so, because I think those are the Titans. I know a lot of guys with huge bench presses that should not be dating your daughter, and it's like, but I know a lot of guys that probably can't bench press the bar who are great men who I would let date my daughter, And so I think that to me, being a Titan, man or woman, is about, like, how you invest in yourself. And some of that is fitness. I think everyone should be involved in fitness because it teaches you so much. And the verdict is out. Like, it helps every aspect of your life. But also, to me, like, self-investment of, like, what are you learning? Like, you should be learning something in every area of your life about yourself, about the people around you. What's your relationships like? Like, you can't do life alone. Quit thinking you can. Like, who's around you right now? Who do you have that literally knows everything about you? because if you don't have anyone that knows everything about you, you're hiding something, and that's energy that you could be putting into something else. And so, like, to me, a Titan is someone who is really like, who's investing in themselves in a way that allows them to invest in others, I guess would be the best way I could put that.
Yeah.
Because when you invest in yourself, and not, a lot of people think it's selfish to invest in yourself, but to invest in yourself for a small season, a short season of time, and then create a consistent habit of doing it, you're now creating a better version of yourself that can then pour into other people. Like I love the analogy of, like, if you're a big solo cup surrounded by your friends who are little Dixie cups, but like if you're getting poured into, the only way for you to pour into those people is if you're overflowing. And so I think that, like, how are you investing in yourself in a way that you can overflow onto other people? To me, that's what a Titan is someone who's really looking like, how can I use what I have, the platform I have, however big or small it is, to invest in people and induce positive change in the environment that I'm living in. Because, right, the saying goes, like, when the waters rise, all the ships rise with it. Like, be the freaking water and raise the level, and then everyone around you is going to be better because of it. And so, to me, that's what a Titan is. I don't know if other people might say, like, give that, like, work hard every day and do those things, and I would agree with those things. But I don't know that being a Titan has so much to do with fitness as much as it has to do with the state of your heart and your mind. And so, to me, that's more what it's about.
Yeah.
But to get to the other side of the question, like what I'm going to take, I learned a lot about myself at the Titan Games, and honestly, am still a little frustrated about kind of how I got out. And so, I think it's a good way for me to learn the message of humility that I'm constantly preaching. And so, I think it's one of the things I'm learning from it is, like, man, like, again, everything happens for a reason. Like, take it in stride, learn from it, like, and move forward. And so, again, like, right, like, keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And so, like, trying to do that better, because I'm a dweller, right? So, like, I'll dwell on things and I'll waste energy doing that, and feeling sorry for myself and having pity parties. And it's like, man, there's no point in that. It's really easy for me to be like, man, this is a once in a lifetime chance, and, like, my chain got stuck and blah, 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 blah. And I ran a really fast time, blah, blah, blah. You know, like, it's easy to dwell on that. But at the end of the day, I lost. And in the head-to-head match that they put me against with Cole, who ran an amazing run on Mount Olympus, right? Like, I got put against a guy who ran an amazing run, and I ran an amazing run too, but he ran an amazing run that was 1 second faster than I ran it, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was like, so I lost. And so also, like, being able to not dwell on that, like, okay, there's a reason for that, and there's purpose behind that. And so, utilizing kind of, for me, the opportunity to learn from that. And so that's, humility is something I'm always trying to learn. I don't think you ever reach a point in your life where you're just humble, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's a process, I think, and you can get more humble, but you're never going to hit the point where you're like, no, I'm humble. Like, I'm humble enough, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the things that I'm really taking away from Titan Games. Also, obviously, taking away the obviouses of, like, got to spend crazy amounts of time with, like, really fit people that inspire me. And so, like, now following them on Instagram and to see what they do, like, I'm inspired to be a better version of myself and to really put the time and the work and the effort in. But also, like, not only that, like, it's inspired by who they are and what they're pursuing, by some people's stories, right? Like, people's stories are like, I saw you had Cable on here. Like, Cable's story is incredible, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's different people that were on the games, and as you interview more people, like, the stories just keep getting more insane. And so it's like, to me, I was so humbled to even be considered, because I was like, I feel like I got picked because I'm, like, a homegrown med student that, like, was a business too, you know? So I was like, man, like, I had a very, for lack of a better term, privileged upbringing, and, like, great family. My parents are two of my best friends in the world, like, middle class, you know? Like, so for me, I was like, man, like, I don't feel like I belong here in terms of, like, the story, you know? In terms of athleticism and ability, yeah, I belong here. But, like, for me, I was so humbled by people's stories, and, like, getting to take that now into my life and understand, like, man, I'm super blessed, and I really do have, like, a foot forward in what I get to do, and I need to understand that and understand that not everyone has that.
Yeah.
And be willing to help and step into the lives of people that may need it. And so I think also taking that, there's a lot of things I think you can learn from that experience, that opportunity. Obviously built some great relationships and some great connections, and that was obviously really fun and just a great time. And I don't know, Katie, I think it's hard to put like a singular thing of like what I'm going to move forward with.
Yeah. Because it infiltrated so many different areas of your life between meeting different people and learning about humility. I really love what you said about that, because it is a process. It's something that you're constantly reminded of, because you could be, going on this path and all of a sudden something happens where it catches you and you're like, wow, okay, that's a humbling moment for me, but I needed that for a second. And it's just constantly learning from that and having that process, and just all of the little things that came up that maybe you didn't realize would impact you in that journey on competing, and then also after the show. But it's those little takeaways, and now that you get to reflect back and really think back on those experiences, just like you were saying before, hindsight's 2020. You can look back and really think, okay, this actually really helped me in this area, in different areas of your life that maybe you didn't think about before.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it really is. It's amazing that you've, because your story is incredible too. It's about perseverance, and it's about wanting to help the person next to you. So deciding, how am I going to do that, and making those and taking those action steps in order to do that. And so, Quinn, with that in mind, and just with all that you've accomplished already, and knowing that you still have all these goals left and things that you want to and will succeed at, I just have one final question that I ask all of my interviewees. What do you want to be remembered for?
A lot of things, I think. Put it into one sentence. I think that I want to be kind of remembered for the guy that invests in the guy next to him. I've never desired to be the fun guy. Like, I don't need to be invited to the party. I'm comfortable not being invited to the party, but I do need to be the guy that if you're on the side of the road stranded, you can call me at any time or any hour,
Yeah.
And so I think I want to be remembered as the guy that was willing to invest in the people next to him. Because really, like I was talking about earlier, like at the end of the day, I think that's how we go about changing this mess that we're in, is like start investing in the people around you, put time and real effort and energy into them. And not only that, like let them invest into you too. There's a unique thing that happens when you open the door for someone to invest in your life, whatever that be. I mean, Cole, we're just talking about this last night, right? Like me going out to train with Cole for the Titan Games was me opening the door like, hey man, I want you to invest in me for a huge season of my life. And then him seeing that really opened the door for him to like, hey man, I have some stuff I'm going through. Can we chat about this? And so there's this huge ability to impact people's lives when you're willing to invest in them and also let them take part in what you have and who you are. And so, man, I want to be a guy that was there for people. I want to be a guy that you knew you could call. I want to be. I don't have to be remembered by the masses. I think, man, like if that happened, great. Like I want a platform and I want to speak from it, and I want to be doing speaking engagements and talking with people and inspiring and instilling value and worth into people's lives. But at the same time, like I'm from a small town community where you brush shoulders with everyone and you almost know every single person in the town. And accountability is huge, and who you are is huge. I want to be someone who lived by what's the best way to put it, right? Like there was wind behind my words, right? Like everything I said had meaning and had proof, and there was a reason why I said it, and the actions that I lived up to the words that I spoke. And so really, like I'd rather just talk about the way that I'm already living than speak about a way I'd like to live, And so I think all of that summed up in a word is just integrity. Like I want to be an integritous person. I want to be a man of character, and I want to empower and instill. I have a unique kind of drive and burden on my heart to call young boys into manhood. And not only that, like it's a terrible time to like be a young girl looking for a man, because like there's a bunch of little boys that can shave running around that are calling themselves men because they can do a bicep curl and they have something between their legs. And it's like, it's just not, like men aren't being men anymore. And that frustrates me because it's like, man, you should have more character, and you should have more integrity, and you should treat a woman like she needs to be treated. And so I know that's not a popular belief in our Asian culture, that Like, I'm not anti-woman at all. I'm very pro-woman.
Yeah, yeah.
But, like, I'm so pro-woman that I'm like, man, I want guys to treat you like you deserve to be treated. And so, I don't know. I think, man, I just want to impact people. I want to do it in a way. There's so many different things. Obviously, like, I'm the king of tangents, right? Like, as you've seen. And so, like, there's so many different things built up inside of me that wants to impact people, and that messages I want to speak and talk into people's lives, that, like, when stuff like this happens, like, they all start to kind of, it's almost like little cracks are bursting open, and like little blips of different messages all just start seeping out. And so, I don't know. I think I want to be an integrous man that was there for the guy next to him. And at the end of the day, like, I want to call men into manhood, and I want women to be able to, like, have a man that they're like, man, my husband's a man.
Thank you all for tuning in to today's installment of the Athletes of the Titan Games podcast. To learn more about each of these Titan athletes, be sure to check out their information in the links in my show notes. Furthermore, to stay up to date on all things coming out of the Keep Moving Forward Creators Studio, be sure to subscribe to the Keep Moving Forward podcast iTunes channel and follow along on social media, also available in the show notes. As the creator of the Titan Games, Mr. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson says, "Titans aren't born, they're made." And I hope today's story helped you realize all that you are capable of becoming if you put in that hard work and just keep moving forward.